Hello and welcome to another episode of the Weekend Geeks. And as you can see, I am walking the streets of London. And today's episode, we're going to look at the Warner Brothers Harry Potter studio tour that's just north of London. And I have a couple other things I want to show you all right now on the Weekend Geeks.
Enter, stranger, but take heed of what awaits the sin of greed. For those who take but do not earn must pay most dearly in their turn.
Warner Brothers Studio Tour London, the making of Harry Potter. Professor Sprout's Greenhouse, new for 2022.
It was a typical cold and rainy day in London as I made my way to the Harry Potter studio tour located at the Warner Brothers studio lot. It is here that fans of the series can get a fully immersive experience, taking them through the heart of what was the home of 8 major motion pictures spanning over 10 years. Entering the tour, you're greeted with a room of publicity images from throughout the filming process. The room also showcases the staircase, which once served as Harry's bedroom. After this waiting area, you will be taken into a room where some of the actors greet you virtually before being summoned into a cinema for a short video presentation. It is at this point that the magic happens. After the film concludes, the lights come up and you're greeted with the very door that served as the entrance to the Great Hall of Hogwarts. A magnificent sight indeed. The Great Hall was a mesmerizing location and was just as expansive as shown in the film. Inside the Great Hall, you will be greeted by props and other gadgets from films, including some wardrobe elements worn by the late Alan Rickman during his portrayal as Professor Severus Snape.
Potter.
Now, before you are allowed to continue on the tour, you are treated to one final spectacular light show, showcasing what practical effects would have been like during filming. An awe-inspiring moment indeed. And with that, we were finally set off on our own to explore the universe of Harry Potter. Just like the real filming process, the first portion of this tour was a visit to the hair and makeup department. Any good film utilizes hundreds of wardrobe options for actors during the many filming days. And these are not regular costumes that you will find on the shelves of any normal department store, but rather items crafted specifically for this purpose. And just as important as wardrobe are the different hair pieces available. These options give the director more opportunities to create an immersive filming environment and bring life to the script. When creating a franchise such as Harry Potter, it is often necessary to create unique environments for filming. This may include small interior sets or miniatures of large locations. Just walking through this tour, I was amazed at how many practical sets were available for people to experience. It gave realism to what is otherwise a stale environment. And as we will see later on, the use of CG does aid filming, but it can never replace the real thing. These practical sets are pivotal to both the actors and crew who are attempting to visualize a concept given inside the script. Could you imagine filming something like the Great Hall scenes with only a table and nothing else? Pretty boring, I would say. Further on, we were then shown an exhibition showcasing how the multitude of letters that Harry received in his home would have operated through practical effects. That was a lot of message envelopes. Can you imagine the multitude of takes that would have occurred on the filming day? Speaking of CG, over at the special effects portion of the tour, fans are greeted by items that showcase how they would have worked. This seemingly unsuspicious trunk opens up to reveal books and wardrobe, among other things included inside. And take a look at this door with the real working mechanisms. How neat! Continuing in this area was also a large green screen or chroma key area where tour guides illustrate how flying works during Quidditch matches, among other things. And then there was Harry's invisibility cloak. This operates through a process where a computer takes anything of a matching color, usually green or blue, and makes it invisible. Think about the weather during your local news broadcast. During the post-production process, a skilled graphic artist will take this footage and replace it with other footage to create the illusion. While this process may look easy here, artists will spend weeks and months to ensure these scenes look believable. After this lesson on computer graphics, I then made my way over to platform 9 3/4, where a model of the original Hogwarts Express was on display, and attendees would have the opportunity to take a photo inside the cabins. At this point, it meant that I was only halfway through my illustrious tour. Welcome back to the Weekend Geeks, and I hope you are enjoying my look at the Harry Potter studio tour in London. I wanted to become editor Justin for just a minute and talk to you about some of the other fun things that I saw while I was on my trip. You know, one of my most favorite films of all time is probably Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, starring Kevin Costner, Morgan Freeman, and of course the great Alan Rickman. The film is based on the 12th century folklore tale about someone who would take from the rich and give to the poor, a truly noble act. I can't tell you how many times I watched this movie as a child. It had a lot of criticisms based on Costner's portrayal of Robin Hood, but all in all, it was a spectacular film and one that I always found myself going back to. A friend of mine had this movie recorded on VHS tape following The Princess Bride, so I was always borrowing it to the point where I could practically recite the lines word for word from memory. While on this bucket list tour, I just had to visit Locksley's Castle, which is located about 2.5 hours west of London at a castle called Wardour Castle. It is here that they filmed the scenes where Lord Locksley wrote his letter asking for news of his beloved son, Robin, and where he would ultimately meet his fate at the hands of the Sheriff of Nottingham. Robin returns home only to find the remains of his father left in the rafters of the castle, and he buries him just outside. I was told that the filming process took just about 3 days to finish, and it was amazing to stand in the same spot and be able to live those scenes in my mind. One other area used for filming of the movie was St. Bartholomew the Great's Church, located in central London. This church housed a lot of other films, including pieces from the Dark Knight trilogy and Inception. There was even a film crew on hand scouting the location for a future project. Moving on to another great location is that of the 1985 hit film National Lampoon's European Vacation, starring Chevy Chase, of course. This was the first thing that I saw when going into London, and I looked extensively to find this roundabout. I'm not sure how Clark could have gotten so confused in his directions, but he just could not seem to get over, no matter what. Looking at the architecture of this traffic circle, there's just no way this could have happened. Now, I know they've made some adjustments, they've added a traffic light, but still, Clark should have been able to get into the left lane to make that turn. Hey kids, there's Big Ben, Parliament. And finally, something that was on the top of my list. A visit to the location known as Garden Lodge, and home to one Farouk Bulsara, or better known as Freddie Mercury. It was amazing to see this location, along with the home in which he grew up in. It added a sense of, personality or individuality to one of rock and roll's greatest singers of all time. All of that helped to make this tour of Europe and England even more fantastic. So, with a frosty cup of butterbeer in hand, let's continue on with our look at the Harry Potter tour. After enjoying some of England's finer weather, I continued outside looking at some of the larger set pieces, which included Harry's home and a double-decker bus, among other attractions. Inside Harry's home were those letters that we saw earlier, displayed in a more prominent manner, if you would say. Continuing from the home, I walked back into Hogwarts for a bit of mandrake repotting, but this time it was less lethal. With my time at the tour running increasingly short due to an upcoming tea time appointment, I hastily moved on to see the final portion, or final act if you would, and that was the Hogwarts Castle. It was elegantly displayed and so much larger than I originally thought. Miniatures can often be grand in scale to highlight detail and to help with filming. It was a truly magnificent way to end the tour and to be able to see what the real-life Hogwarts Castle may have been. Just put yourself in the shoes of those who worked on the films for all of those years and imagine your life inside this universe. Isn't it a truly magical thing? And what's more important than seeing a magical place? Well, shopping, of course. But as you exit the Hogwarts display, you come across a room of magic wands, each named after someone who worked on the film, either as a cast member or crew member. And I happened to stumble upon this one chap. Maybe you know him. I think he's a doctor or something. Yeah, that's it.
Well, there you have it. That's the look at the Warner Brothers studio tour here in London. And, well, on that set of unfortunate news, it's time to end our show. Thank you so much for joining. We'll see you next time. And have a cup of tea. Good night.